Hi, I'm Andy Bowen, and I'm founder of Clearview Communications and Public Relations. And at Clearview, we do a lot of media training and presentation skills training. We do a lot of crisis communications training too, probably too much. But when we're in the middle of training with our clients, we insist that they follow the three key message rule. And that is, we develop three key messages or three talking points that our client will stay on during the interview. An interview, we like to say, is nothing more than a presentation that's interrupted by questions. So you want to have three key messages, and you want to block and bridge back to those key messages every chance you get. So one of the ways we drive that home is we talk about reporter and listener math. Reporter and listener math. So if we have three key messages, and we get each one into the interview or the discussion or the presentation three times, we have reporter and listener math that takes over. So in school, we're taught that 3 times 3 equals 9, right? Not in reporter and listener math. 3 times 3 in reporter and listener math actually equals 1. That is, we have three key messages. We're faithful in getting them into the interview, each one 3 times. We may have one that's retained by the receiver of the information, or by the audience, or by the reporter or the blogger. Or one may make it into the headline. Or one might be a pulled quote. Or it might be the teaser for the evening news. So 3 key messages, 3 times each, 1 retained, maybe 2. Science and research tells us that's true. So, on the other side of the coin, if we don't plan for our media interview, if we wing it, as some people say, I'll just wing it, I'll be fine. Well, you won't. And you don't think about your messaging, your talking points, and you have 6 things you get into the conversation. You get each one in one time. Well, in reporter and listener math, we're taught in school that 6 times 1 would equal 6, right? Not in reporter and listener math. 6 times 1 equals 0. That is, you are so all over the place in your messaging that the receiver of the messaging, the reporter, the audience, cannot decide what's important, and therefore they come away with nothing. Or worse, they're confused. And a prime example of this is a colleague of mine in public relations in Detroit prepped his client for a major interview with D-Business magazine in Detroit. After the interview, his client was not featured in the story. My colleague called the reporter and said, "What happened?" And the reporter said, "Your guy was all over the place. I couldn't take notes fast enough, and he was talking about everything under the sun having to do with mortgages and home prices and everything else, and I had to go with the people that gave me the good quotes." So there's a prime example of the application of listener math. 3 times 3 will get you in the story all the time. 6 times 1, reporters, listeners, audience may be too confused to know what you're trying to tell them. If you'd like to know a little bit more about media training, crisis communications, or a little bit more about the science of placing your key messages, I hope you'll give us a call.